After doing the research on video resumes from Lesson 1, and now brainstorming for your SWOT worksheet, your head might be residing in the weaknesses and threats space. So let's first consider the weaknesses and threats of video resumes and video interviews. While doing my master's research, I made note of all of the weaknesses and threats I came across in the literature related to both video resumes and asynchronous video interviews. Interestingly, there's a fair amount of crossover considering both are pre-recorded videos. What were the weaknesses that I often came across? While this list is not exhaustive, the following will highlight the points that I came across most often. With asynchronous video interviews, the lack of interactivity was referenced quite often. Many commented that in interviews, they relied on the interaction with the interviewer to guide their demeanor and body language. Also, the inability to ask clarifying or follow-up questions sometimes caused them to second-guess their responses to interview questions. Similar to this with video resumes, the lack of interactivity or immediate feedback caused some to question how they or the content of their video were in fact perceived by the viewer of their video. Another weakness of asynchronous video interviews is that some are not comfortable with or knowledgeable about technology. In fact, the research often talked about people who weren't comfortable using a webcam or had poor quality webcams. Some other technology-related complaints were a lack of access to high-quality devices and the possibility of experiencing technical difficulties or lags in internet connection during the recording. They questioned if this would place them at a disadvantage. Considering video interviews are a one-time, short-term, high-stakes exchange, these concerns are totally valid. One article made the point, interviewing inherently contains some amount of stress, but adding a technological component could throw off some applicants. Similarly with video resumes, a poor quality video or audio recording could certainly impact how your video will be perceived. Furthermore, recording self-facing videos can be awkward since you're often not sure where to look while recording. With both video interviews and video resumes, not a lot of research has been conducted on their effectiveness. There may be a couple of reasons for this. First off, technology innovations like asynchronous video interviews can take over a decade to catch on. The Gartner Hype Cycle, which I referred to in my thesis, provides industry-specific insights into technology trends from ideation to acceptance and is based on the market adoption curve. Video recruiting first appeared on the Hype Cycle back in 2013, so not even 10 years ago. By 2018, it had progressed down the curve to the position where challenges and obstacles are recognized and corrected. If you've ever read The Dip by Seth Godin, you're familiar with the dip being the stage of an endeavor or project, in this case a technology innovation, when the excitement has worn off and all we're experiencing is the hard work. When we're in the dip, we may want to quit the endeavor, but if we persevere through the hard work, eventually we move back up the curve and start making progress again. Video recruiting was in the dip on the Gartner Hype Cycle as recently as 2019, but by 2020 started progressing back up the curve and is heading towards mainstream adoption. Likely, the Zoom culture brought on by the pandemic has fast-tracked the adoption of video interviewing. Interestingly, the adoption of video interviews has positioned video resumes for greater acceptance, since video is now becoming a common tool used for recruiting and communicating in general. Why aren't video resumes already commonplace, considering the progressive shift to video recruiting over the past decade? Well, let's now consider some of the perceived threats of using video to find jobs.